welcome to my latest experiment. This is a big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God!
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. It's the motherfucking boogeyman. God cannot save you. He's way up in the sky. I'm right here leaning over your body, so when I say you die, you die. I'm Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast.
And I'm Guy Pigville. And who was that?
That was King 810.
King 810.
King 810 from their song Fat Around the Heart. I've just discovered these guys. I'm pretty happy with them. They're sort of a poetic. They're coming here with Tech 9 soon to play at the power station.
It sounded kind of Tech 9-ish.
Yeah, right.
It sounded Tech 9-ish.
Yeah, I think that they must be from a similar hood. These guys are from Flint, Michigan, where the water's all shitty, and they call it Murder Town. So it's kind of poetic metal with, you can tell it's got that urban hip hop influence as well.
Right.
It's all about, being the biggest, having the biggest dick, and how many people you killed, and all of that stuff. Sort of that urban gangster vibe.
All of that important stuff.
He tells some pretty interesting stories, though. So I do recommend you go check him out. King 810. So yeah, welcome along to the show. Now, I thought we'd dive straight in, talk about movies this week.
Oh shit!
Because
took me by surprise. I was not expecting you to say that.
Yeah, well, because I've seen a bunch of movies, so I thought we'd better.
So this is our movie review section.
The movie review section. So I saw. Hang on, sorry. I watched all of these movies. I'm not filling just spaces while I talk here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So I watched Star Trek.
The new one or the...
I think it's the new one.
The most recent one?
I think so.
Okay, does it start off with the Enterprise getting blown up?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the newest one, yeah.
Yeah. It was terrible.
It wasn't great.
It was just terrible. It was like yawn-inducing, just terrible. Like, kind of like dumb jokes, but they weren't... They just didn't really work for me, and just the whole thing for me was just really dumb.
Simon Pegg wrote that.
Yeah, did he?
Yeah, or co-wrote it.
Right, is that why he's in it?
Well, it's probably he's in it so much, I think. Yeah, I think he wrote himself a nice little part for himself there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a big Trek fan. Yeah, I agree with you. It wasn't that great.
It was just, I don't know, it was just kind of uninspired. I watched it with an optimistic attitude, I was
Me too.
I want to watch some sci-fi. I'm going to give Star Trek another go. I've never been a big Star Trek dude. I've always been more of a Star Wars kind of guy.
Yeah.
But Star Trek, all right, give it a go. The new one's out. The trailer did make it look kind of cool, apart from all the dirt biking. Apart from all the dirt biking that I saw.
Apart from all the extreme dirt biking?
Apart from Captain Kirk doing some dirt biking. Is it Captain Kirk? Who is it? Yeah. So apart from Captain Kirk doing some extreme dirt biking, some motocross. Apart from that, in the trailer did look pretty good. But then I watched it, and really, I was on the plane. I had nowhere else to go, so I was like, all right, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
And I just... really was very bored, and it actually put me off watching the next movie I was going to watch. I was like, I'm going to get all caught up. I'm going to watch the new Star Trek and the new Independence Day.
Oh, yeah.
And then after watching the new Star Trek, I was like, nah, I tried to watch the big blockbuster movie. I tried. It was just too boring. I just didn't care. And I quit. I didn't watch Independence Day. And then, so I watched instead, well, unless you've got something to chime in there about Star Trek.
No, but I will say that, there's been a decline. The first Star Trek was pretty damn good, the first Star Trek reboot. And
Yeah.
also, I am a Star Trek fan. And I'd heard that this was a bit more for the fans. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a Star Trek fan, this is going to do right by the fans, and have a bit more of the stuff you'd hope. Not really.
Yeah.
Didn't have that. Just was kind of a bit mediocre.
I like the influence that Star Trek has had on history, on the scientific world and stuff.
Yeah.
It's obviously inspired a lot of
Quite
people.
a lot of fucking nerds out there.
And it's, and I really do appreciate that, but I just can't get it. I mean, it's the whole set phasers to stun thing that bothers me. Why would you ever set your phaser to stun?
Because you don't
want to kill people. It's too goody good.
And going into an alien colony, you don't want to upset people by killing a bunch of people.
Everybody.
It's
Yeah.
But anyway, so I agree with you on that one. So
Yeah.
what's your next review?
The next movie I saw was The Infiltrator.
I haven't seen that.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Have you heard about this? It's the guy from Breaking Bad.
Yep.
What's his name again?
What is his name?
I really, really thought you would know that.
I do know his name, but I've just forgotten it temporarily.
Okay, cool. So
Come to
anyway, the dude from Breaking Bad, and he's a
Walter White.
Walter White from Breaking Bad, and he's a he's
Bryan Cranston is his
that's
name.
it, Bryan Cranston. So he's a narco officer infiltrating
Actually, I have heard of this.
Colombian gang sort of cartel stuff.
Yep.
And he's a cop and he's trying to infiltrate his way through. But again, it was just really bad. And I think it's that I just come off watching 2 seasons of Narcos back to back, and Narcos was really good. Really high quality television.
Yeah.
And then so to then go to The Infiltrator, which was just a bit sort of melodramatic, and I don't know, I never really felt invested in the characters again. It was just, by the end of it, I wasn't, there was sort of, by the end of it, without any spoilers, by the end of it, I was just like, man, I don't care. Hurry up and finish. So basically, I watched two shit films on the plane.
Damn.
All right. Then I got to LA.
Recovery. Yeah, from the 2 bad films.
Yeah, well, it is, because I got to LA, and in Screamfest, I watched many films, but amongst them was one called Found Footage 3D. Have you heard about this?
No.
It's a found footage film in 3D. Found footage horror film in 3D. But what was great about it was that it was really... the audience was along for the ride. The audience knew that found footage movies have been done to death, and that there's all these tropes that you got to reuse just to make the idea work. Like, why are they still recording? That's a question you always ask when you're watching a found footage movie. It's like, why are you still recording?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you have dropped the camera and run away by now?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they address kind of all of that stuff, and so they don't treat the audience like an idiot. So it was really good. And so found footage 3D, that has just come out. I recommend people go check it out. I think the guy that made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something.
Okay.
Stephen D. Gennaro or
okay. Well, he must have made the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, I probably should have googled him and actually did some research before the podcast.
Tobe Hooper did the original.
Oh no,
Chainsaw
yeah. I
definitely
not
not
the
him.
original. No, no.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was all right, and then just to level it back out again, I then watched Hacksaw Ridge with you.
That's right. We watched
at the cinema the other day.
Yeah.
And it was all right, but I was pretty disappointed, to be honest, because I was expecting a great war. I mean, Apocalypto, good film, enjoyed it. Braveheart, great film, enjoyed it.
Would you enjoy it again as much, though, Braveheart, now?
I think I would, although I think maybe you would see some things that were a bit crapper. But to be honest, I think that it's still pretty good. Like, the last time I actually saw a little bit of it on YouTube recently, one of his speeches, and he's like, oh, yes, and if William Wallace was here, he'd shoot fireballs out his arse. And he's 7 foot tall. And it was good.
Yeah.
I liked it. So Braveheart, good. Apocalypto, good. Passion of the Christ, I enjoyed that. Didn't have a problem with that.
It was pretty watchable.
It was pretty watchable as far as
you really enjoyed Jesus getting flayed.
Yeah, I just enjoyed seeing Jesus get his ass whooped. So that was all good stuff. And then Hacksaw Ridge came along. Now you have to admit, out of those 4 movies, Hacksaw Ridge has got to be the worst.
To me, I wasn't big on Apocalypto. I was really looking forward to Apocalypto, and I just found there was something about it that I just didn't really engage with.
Right.
I can't say what it was exactly. Maybe it was just all the silence or talking in a different language. I don't know.
Right.
But whatever it was, didn't really grip me, that guy's journey. Right. A lot of running through the forest.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of like The Jungle Book or something.
Right.
But without
the Jungle Book, which is a excellent classic.
The Jungle Book, but without the magic of the talking animals, which I so much enjoyed.
Right. Okay. Well,
I was just waiting for a panther to start talking to him, and I think it would have all been okay, but that never happened.
Another thing, I felt like all of those movies, aside from Hacksaw Ridge, have really good gore. And then the gore in Hacksaw Ridge, for me, it was all right.
It was pretty gory.
It was gory. A lot of it was people that were already dead, so it showed lots of dead bodies.
Yeah.
But it didn't really... And I guess, people were obviously getting killed in various horrific ways. But I don't know. It seemed okay. There was one particular kill where they cut away from a guy getting his throat cut. Like, they cut away from it. And I was like, well... Why would you cut away from? You've just been showing people getting burnt alive and doing all this other stuff. Why would you cut away from?
Why do you need to see it?
Because it's a war movie. Well, it's meant to be confrontational. It's supposed to be realistic, and it's supposed to, the gravitas of it all was supposed to really weigh in on you. I
think you would have thought that film was amazing if you hadn't seen, if Saving Private Ryan didn't exist.
Yeah, well, definitely Saving Private Ryan set the bar high, and so did Band of Brothers. Now, the thing that I liked about those two, though, is that the tactics being used were realistic tactics, and it was like, okay, they did their best to keep it as realistic as possible. So there's not any of this stuff where people are running across open ground, shooting from the hip, which there seemed to be a lot of that in Hacksaw Ridge. There was even, and this no spoilers or anything like that, but there was kind of a ridiculous scene where one soldier's dragging a wounded soldier away, and the wounded soldier is gunning down hordes of Japanese soldiers which are chasing them as he's being dragged away over this rough ground, and it was
his knees all
shot up, and at this point he'd been shot up for 12 hours or something as well, so he'd probably be delirious almost.
Yep.
But here he was just gunning down these people just gung ho, and it's just preposterous. Every bullet would have missed. You can't shoot under those circumstances and hit anything.
Also, there was definitely some elements of Full Metal Jacket ripping off in the training sequences, I felt.
Oh, yeah. Well, Let Me Hear You War Cry. They literally reused the sentence, Let Me Hear You War Cry, from Full Metal Jacket in this movie.
And the sergeant going up and insulting and giving everyone nicknames.
Yeah.
That was done in Full Metal Jacket.
But I think that is a thing.
It is a thing.
In the army.
You can't do it again.
Well, you can show it again, but they shouldn't say, Let Me Hear You War Cry. Because that's an iconic scene from Full Metal Jacket, right? That's in there. Yeah. I'm sure it's Full Metal Jacket. Yeah. You can't do that. You can't do that. And so anyway, there was just a lot of times when it was like these sort of soldiers were not really behaving in any way like soldiers, and it was like, at one point there were these Japanese soldiers up on a ridge shooting down at them, and instead of everybody getting into cover and then firing back, which is 100% what they would have done, they would have been real low, hidden in wherever they could and firing back. They're all just standing there shooting back out in the open, and I don't know, it was just not at all realistic. They hadn't bothered really getting the training right for the tactics and all of that stuff, whereas Steven Spielberg with Band of Brothers and Private Ryan obviously really spent a lot of time getting those actors sorted and blocking it out properly. So yeah, I was just a bit disappointed with the fighting, and then on top of that, it was the story was a bit sort of again melodramatic, and
melodramatic is the word.
There was definitely it was just a bit big, a bit heavy-handed, as you put it.
Yeah. So my issue with it, I liked it more than you did. It definitely got me a bit emotional, and I think
I'm a World War II enthusiast. It's got to be authentic.
I'm not a World War II enthusiast, so I just was more of a casual viewer. So I didn't really care about although I did think, I was just like, no one's going to be hitting anyone like this. I did notice that. Just from a perspective, I was like, the chaos of war is not being documented here.
Yeah.
The chaos and panic of war, of being under enemy fire, is not being portrayed well here. That's what I did think. But it was the melodrama of it that annoyed me. The Christ metaphors were not were a bit over the top as well, I thought.
Was there some Christ metaphors?
Well,
in there?
there's that bit where they're like basically pouring
no spoilers,
pouring water over the lead protagonist because he's all bloody, and he's like basically like he's jizzing as they're pouring the water over him, and this blood's coming off him, and it's like, look, would people really be pouring buckets on him? I'm not sure. Feel like they may have had some shower constructions, or he would have gone and had a wash on the beach.
Yeah.
2, you wouldn't be like putting your head up towards it, like all like, and putting your arms outstretched. You'd be scrubbing
all over my face.
You'd be scrubbing soap all over you, going, "Ugh, get all this blood of other people off me." So I didn't really like that, and also the very last scene where he.
Whoa! No spoilers for people.
All right,
no spoilers for people.
Okay.
All right,
but there was just a few things. There was a few things like that. I don't mind like religion being a part or a part of the whole story. It clearly was for this guy.
Yeah.
Also, a great example of religion doing good in the world, Harley Neville.
Well, you mean because it inspired one guy, one lunatic was inspired by it
to save 75 people.
Save 75 people, yeah. Well, yeah, okay, sure, yeah. That's good. I mean, he could have done that without saying, it was anything to do with.
But he wouldn't have had the bravery or the courage if he didn't think God was on his side.
Well, to be honest, if he was an atheist, he probably wouldn't have bothered going to war because you only live once, so fuck it.
Exactly.
Who's going to go? Exactly. So there wouldn't be a war if we were all bloody atheists. You want me to go and fight for you? Fuck off. I've only got one life. I'm not risking it for you. That's ridiculous. They say there's no atheists in foxholes. That's what they say, and they say it's because everyone in a foxhole is like praying fervently, for their lives. But of course, they're all atheists in foxholes, aren't they? Because if they truly believed they were safe and that God had a plan for them, they'd get up and walk out of there through the bullets and know that they were going to be safe. But they're hiding in the foxhole because they know it's fucking stupid. And then on top of that, there's no atheists in foxholes because we're not going over there and killing people.
Well, I think we are now.
Yeah.
But it was just too heavy-handed. It was good. It was a good story, and it was told effectively in the sense of tugging at your heartstrings. But it was just too much. It was just, the subtlety and nuance of a Stanley Kubrick was missing from this, or even a Spielberg was missing. It was like a bit like a guy painting like a child's depiction of what of this fantastic story.
Yeah, I just feel like he just didn't he didn't portray it. There's nothing wrong with the idea, the story, and all that stuff. I just feel like he failed to portray it.
Good performances as well. Yeah, nothing wrong with the acting.
We're fine. Yeah. I did notice that girl doing the lead actress doing a lot of panting. I started noticing that a couple of years ago, like where people are just having a conversation, but it's like something dramatic has happened. Something dramatic has happened, but they haven't run anywhere.
Right?
They're just something dramatic's happened, but they're like, oh no, he's in court right now. He's in a court. They're doing a court case. He's in court. And it's like, yeah, okay, you would chill out with that panting, eh? Like, did you run there, or you just been sitting in the waiting room for 20 minutes?
Yeah.
A bit of a crutch for
pantacting.
Yeah, pantacting. Now, speaking of filmmaking, I forgot to mention to you that I met one of the writers of Doctor Strange.
That's pretty cool.
And his name is Christopher Cargill.
Yep.
And he is one of the 4 writers of Doctor Strange.
Yep.
And I sat next to him. I went to a bar like with a friend of a friend kind of thing. Went along, and he was there with a bunch of other well-to-do people, and like a director who I didn't befriend enough. And anyway, I was sitting right next to him, and we chatted for a while. He seemed nice enough, and I didn't actually know who he was at the time. Like he said his name and all that.
You didn't go into your hate of Marvel movies.
No, luckily,
didn't dip into that.
Luckily, I didn't go, oh man, like you see Doctor Strange is coming out, because they just shut down all of Hollywood Boulevard for the like premiere as well. So it was a hot topic at the time, and that's why he was in town, because he's not actually from Hollywood, and so So, yeah, it's lucky they didn't go, just see that they shut down Hollywood Boulevard for Doctor Strange? Man, what a shitfest that's going to be. Another crap CGI-tis. Oh, these movies are so dumb. They make people dumber. I like cinema that makes you think. What do you think, Christopher Cargill?
You didn't say that to him.
I didn't say that.
Well, that's good. I mean, I've seen Doctor Strange, and I can review it and say it's pretty good. It's a good Marvel movie. It continues their good run of quality.
I gave him my card, by the way.
And well,
so
he'll be in touch shortly.
He'll be in touch.
He'll be in touch. But it definitely is a little bit different as well. And what I think it has been good with Marvel movies is they're like, okay, like superheroes. We really got superheroes covered. So with these new superheroes, they got to be different. Doctor Strange is like a magician, essentially, and conjuring shit and doing things from other worlds, and it's a bit Inception-y, and that makes it interesting again.
Right.
And so it was pretty solid. So if you're on the fence about Doctor Strange, get on down there. Does that conclude our movie reviews section?
Yes, I think it does.
Well, are we going to mention the presidency situation?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was also going to mention that, because I don't know, did we say that I Survived the Zombie Holocaust is on Showtime? Did we mention that on the show?
I'm not sure if we did or not.
Well, I Survived the Zombie Holocaust is playing on Showtime in America at the moment, which is a premium cable channel, so that's pretty awesome. So if you're listening from America, go and check it out. It's on all of them, though. It's on AT&T and stuff like that. But anyway, on Showtime, it's not Harley Neville, it's Harvey Neville. Harvey Neville is reaping the rewards of my work. Some guy out there, Harvey Neville, is just he's just receiving a huge boost in his Google searches.
Or is it IMDb?
It was IMDb. Harvey Neville, star of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. Fuckers.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
We did get some good reviews recently about the zombie film as well.
Yeah, we did. We had some more reviews, more interviews. I've been hitting people up, chasing things down.
Well, you know, it's good to see. I mean, it does warm your heart when you read a review that someone spent a fucking good couple of hours writing.
Yeah.
And you're like,
they watched the movie,
and it's full of quotes from the movie, so they were cross-referencing.
Yeah,
and you're like, wow, you know, this struck a chord.
Yeah, so
with that person at least,
I have shared reviews on the Facebook page, our Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. So go across there and hit like and check out some of the reviews there, and why not share them? Share something too.
Also, if you're one of those people, if you're one of the now 100 people that hasn't watched I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, what are you doing?
Why are you listening to our podcast?
What
you haven't? So you listen to the podcast that from filmmakers who made the movie I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, and you haven't seen I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. What's your deal? What are you doing?
Get off the fence. Get off the fence.
Now, look. Speaking of people and listeners and us, we little did we know. We have actually been getting a lot of reviews for the Guy and Harley podcast on iTunes. You didn't know it. I didn't know it.
Well, I haven't checked it. I checked and then complained about it on the podcast.
Yeah, well, no, see, what the thing is that actually, when you're checking the New Zealand iTunes. Now, here in New Zealand, you know, due to the height of my poppy being directly proportionate to the height of your poppy, equal. It's got to be equal or lesser than. Right. That means that we have fuck all reviews on the New Zealand one, right? But Gary Fawcett is a long-time supporter, and he bought I Survived a Zombie Holocaust on DVD, by the way. So let's just take a wee moment of silence for Gary Fawcett and his awesomeness.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. We really appreciate that. Now, anyway, Gary has written an app. For do you write apps? He created an app for
will you write them? Code?
Okay, he wrote an app, right? And what it does is it collates all of the reviews on iTunes and puts them all in the same place and just emails you. So it doesn't matter if it's from a US iTunes, UK, NZ, whatever. It doesn't matter. So they all go to the same place.
It's a fucking great app, Gary.
It's a great app, Gary. You can make a lot of money, bro.
Probably is.
So Gary sent me. So he put my email on it, and now I receive all of the reviews as they come in. Now, look, there's too many here to read, but I just thought we better review a few, read a few.
Okay.
Great tips, great laughs, great podcast. That's from NZ Spy Guy, 5 stars, and then that's just the title. And then he says, the Guy and Harley podcast is flat out awesome. Hearing about the lives of best mates who want to make film while navigating life is great. From making a feature zombie film to driving an Uber to donating sperm, this podcast has everything. Seriously, check it out. Nice. Jamie Oxley, he says he listens to it at work. Tough Deck from Australia. Perfect for Kiwis who are abroad. Loving your podcast, guys. As a Kiwi living overseas, I often search for Kiwi-based media that I can listen to for that slice of home, and I find I get that from your podcast. So thanks for making this Kiwi homesick. This homesick Kiwi laugh every week. That's from Tough Deck over in Australia. So thanks for listening, mate. Kiwi Jezza, 5 stars. These guys have me laughing from start to finish.
These guys!
Listening to them is my Monday morning ritual. Just a couple of guys with some big plans. Great storytelling from these guys as they discuss the ins and outs of living an indie filmmaker's life. That's from WBD Ass from the United States. Totes in apropes and much appreciated. Great to hear your voices of Not So Reason every week. Your voices of Not So Reason every week. Filmmaking advice, hilarious gripes, and the trials and titulations of their love lives. Funny stuff. Now, I won't read all of them, but they're all very, very positive. They're all like that, and they're all from... I listen to it on a regular... blah, blah, blah. Hang on.
Yeah.
Jump on board now because they're not popular yet, but they will be.
That's what we've been saying for about a good decade, haven't we?
Yeah.
Look, you motherfuckers, you don't, but we're maybe nobodies now. Maybe you don't want to do our projects now,
but you will.
But one day you'll see.
Okay, this is the last one I'll read.
Oh, yeah.
BFFs and actual filmmakers, Guy and Harley, masticate, pontificate on all things film, including the trials and tribulations and highs and lows of doing so in New Zealand. But wait, there's more. Tinder advice, great yarns, current events, comedy, poetry, gangster rap, and some top-shelf toilet humour all feature in this entertaining and informative podcast, which is definitely the best in New Zealand and probably the world.
Probably the world.
That is from Blake Martinez from New Zealand. Now, I don't know anybody called Blake Martinez. So,
do you know someone called Blake Martin?
No.
Oh, okay.
Unless it's Blair Martin under a pseudonym.
It could be. Think about it. They're close.
Okay, one more. This is from Hilarious Heartfelt Hedonistic from Tyler in the United States. This is an incredible... entertaining podcast. The topics are often perverted and yet result in totally endearing, honest human testimony. I find their film talk to be a major highlight as they hold unique perspectives on cinema in general and on independent filmmaking in New Zealand. Every episode has felt fresh and always made me laugh. They are not afraid to touch on some sensitive matters and they don't always agree on things. Nor do I agree with what they say all the time. But that just makes me want to come back for more juicy, controversial topics. These guys are sharp and completely unabashed and definitely doing something right. So thanks to all of you guys and to all of you other guys that gave us reviews. Those reviews really do help us, so please go along and put your own in there.
Thank you very much.
Give us 5 stars, and that really helps us rise through the ranks of iTunes.
That probably explains the
Hardy Hundy,
the Hardy Hundy, the evolution from the
Filthy 50,
from the Fast 50.
Yeah.
So that's great. Now, are we going to talk about
Trump? Yeah, we want to talk about. Well, you want to keep up with current affairs? All right, Trump.
Well. It just happened, didn't it?
It did just happen, and we do talk about current affairs on the show, so...
Donald Trump is the president of the United States.
Yes.
The most powerful country in the world is now being run by someone with no political experience and the maker of The Celebrity Apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
That is the most powerful man in the world right now.
Yeah.
Running the most powerful country in the world right now. Mm-hmm. The star and creator of Celebrity Apprentice.
Yeah. Well, look, what bothers me is not all his
past. So grab by the pussy. No, don't worry about that.
Okay, look, grab him by the pussy. Okay? Now, let's cut the shit, guy. he was talking on a bus. Now, I agree, it's totally unpresidential for him to get caught saying that, and it's completely inappropriate, and, you know, like, if in real life he actually walks up and just grabs women by the pussy and thinks that he can get away with that.
But wasn't that the conversation? The conversation being that he was like, look, I just do this to girls because I'm this powerful.
But did you listen to the tape?
The actual transcript?
Yeah, did you listen to the...
Well, I just read the quotes, but it could have been quoted out of context.
Yeah, you've got to listen to the thing. He's talking, they're talking, it's just two guys on a bus, and he doesn't know his mic is on.
Right.
And they're talking about women, and they're talking about, like, some hot chick that's about to interview them and stuff like that. And he's sort of bragging about, how he gets with women all the time.
Yeah.
And he goes... and he's like, oh, you can do whatever you want. I just grab him by the pussy. You can do whatever you want when you're famous or something like that. Now, it's grubby, and it's not a nice thing to say, and it's not a good culture to sort of promote and all of that type of stuff. But he was having a private conversation with another guy.
He was having a dude conversation.
Exactly. And let's cut the shit. So much of this podcast could be taken... and used against us.
Oh, sure could.
Like, of this very podcast. There's hours and hours of us recording and saying almost stuff probably worse than that. And
remember when you said that you were going to beat up that girl, the poetry girl?
Don't bring that up again. Look, well, speaking of the poetry girl, because I had a poetry beef, okay? I had a poetry beef a few weeks back. It was probably 6 weeks back now. I had a poetry beef with a poet at... my poetry. She was heckling me, and she put me off, and I did really bad, and I haven't gone back since. She literally ended my poetry career. Bullying ended my poetry career. So I was very angry. I was very angry at her during that episode, and I did suggest that I should beat the crap out of her. But of course, it was tongue in cheek. But could it be taken and used against me in the future? Yes. Could it be framed that I was a misogynistic psycho? Yes, it could. It could. Okay. Because I was suggesting that I should beat up this woman from Poetry Night. Yeah. So there you go. It's a prime example. Now, I'm not actually going to beat her up. I don't really want to beat her up, and I don't suggest anybody beat anybody up.
In fact, you did at the end of the thing say that you were going to sit down and have a talk and tell her to stop bullying you. Yeah, that was the way you were going to resolve the issue.
That was how I was going to resolve it.
Hey, stop bullying me, please.
I was going to say.
I'm finding that this is very hurtful to me, actually.
Yes, ultimately, my plan was to do the sensible thing. And then on top of that, though, when we turn these mics off, okay, that's when the real talk starts. And let's be honest, like, we're really honest with our listeners. We are. But there's some things that we don't dare utter even on the podcast.
That's true.
So imagine if we didn't know the mic was on one day and we're having a private conversation. Some of the shit we say, particularly 10 years ago, which is when he was recorded 10 years ago. So imagine some of the shit you and I talked about 10 years ago when we thought no one was listening. It was terrible and could all be taken out of context and taken to be far more serious than it is. So the pussy thing, I didn't really care about. Okay. I'm sure that Obama has said something dirty about pussy at some point.
Yep.
When he thinks nobody's around.
To Michelle,
like, your baby, you have a nice pussy.
Yeah.
That's a presidential pussy.
That's a presidential pussy right there.
That's a first family pussy. That's a first lady pussy.
You may well have said that, under the dirty talk. How's the president going to talk dirty? Probably stuff like that.
Yeah,
because he can. Because you're going to incorporate that stuff in. Why not? It's fun.
Yeah. Surely he boned her in the Oval Office at some point.
Of course.
In their 8 years.
Presidential privileges.
Bend her over the desk. Tell the what's it, the security that they have? The Secret Service?
Yeah. Tell the Secret Service guy in the room to turn around for 5 minutes and block his ears.
Yeah.
Because he's getting some of that presidential
he's getting some presidential pussy. Yeah. Well, look, exactly. I'm sure it all happened.
Yep.
Yeah, so that didn't bother me. But what did bother me about Trump, okay?
Yep.
So my main concern. So there's a lot of things to be concerned about. One of them, I'm concerned that he has emboldened the racists.
Yep.
He has essentially by being elected, he has essentially said that this is an okay way to speak about people
it's okay
and to
stance.
people. This is an okay thing to say. You can be anti-Muslim because the President of the United States is openly anti-Muslim. You know, you can be all the rest of it, LGBT against
What does that stand for, LGBT?
It's like lesbian, gay, LGBT, bi,
trans community. So there's no C in there.
Yeah, LGBT. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a blanket.
You get it.
You get the gist of it. Yeah, I mean, like, so obviously Donald Trump is against transsexuals, so he wants to build a wall between America and Transylvania.
How long have you been you've been waiting so long to debut that joke? Like, that must have been a Facebook post in the making right there.
Well, it probably should be. But I don't actually know.
People are too angry right now.
People are too angry for that.
We could have a laugh on the podcast, but people are too upset. They're like, don't make this is our president right now.
Yeah,
this is actually our president.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll get to that because I am receiving a bit of heat online at the moment for a recent status regarding Trump.
Yeah.
But so yes. Anyway, look, I don't like that he's emboldening these hateful people. I don't like what he stands for. I don't like the look of his face. It's
not good.
It looks like you could blindfold him with a shoelace, man. His beady wee eyes, these little beady wee eyes.
Yeah.
And he's just, I just don't understand how he's just got an instantly dislikable face. And then, when I saw the first family walking out, because I watched live his
inauguration or something.
Well, it's not his inauguration yet, but his acceptance speech when, the results have been announced kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, you just saw these douchebags walking out on stage, and they looked like total douchebags, like definition of rich douchebags, and they're all there was no black people on the stage.
Yeah.
Everybody was white. I don't know. It was just, they just don't...
privilege.
Yeah. Exactly. Totally privileged. But so anyway... None of that. All right, that's all fine. I don't like any of it, but it's not the deal breaker for me. Here are the two real deal breakers for me. One, at a time when the world needs decisive action on the greatest threat to ever face humanity, which is climate change,
not war,
which is not.
Not Muslims.
It's none of that. It's climate change.
Not Mexicans taking people's jobs.
No, it's climate change, and he is denying the existence of the problem. And it's not a complicated concept. The concept is we have a certain amount of gas in our atmosphere, and if we take more of it out of the ground, burn it, and release it into the air, then we change the environment. It's not a complicated concept, and we've been taking tons and tons of carbon and other gases out of the ground and burning them and releasing them into our atmosphere. Logic dictates that you can only do that for a finite amount of time before the composition of the atmosphere changes. Not rocket science. And he's denying a very basic sort of concept. Obviously it's very complicated in real life, but the concept is simple. Yeah. And he's denying the existence of it at a time when it's imperative that we act. And so that really bothers me because that directly affects me here in New Zealand. It affects my future, my kids, and the future of my species.
Your sperm kids from other people that you don't know exist.
My kids my 18 kids from the sperm donors. That affects me. From my donating sperm. I don't have a sperm donor update. I need to go to get my blood tests done, and I just haven't got around to booking it. But I've actually got 2 days off, so maybe I should try and do that tomorrow, because it's also just good for me. I get a whole bunch of free blood tests. Yeah. Keep an eye on my health, which is great. Yeah. So anyway, that bothers me. And then the next thing that bothers me is that his vice president, Mike Pence. Yeah. Mike Pence is a creationist. He's openly a creationist. Now, I've done a little bit more research. It's now looking like he's not a young Earth creationist, because even within creationists, there's divides. You know, so there are some people that say they are young Earth creationists, so they take the Bible totally literally. These guys that built the Ark, in America. These guys are young Earth creationists. They think that zombies. They might as well think it's zombies. Jesus was a zombie technically, but like
he was technically. That's a good point.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
Yeah,
he was a zombie.
Yeah.
Jesus was the first zombie.
Yeah,
he invented the zombie genre.
Yeah, although I am actually pretty sure that is very funny, but I'm pretty sure that part of the myth was actually built on a previous god that rose up from the dead as well. You know, so it was taken from previous mythology anyway. I don't know which one. So anyway. Jesus, zombies,
climate change,
Tyrannosaurus Rex,
created synchronous.
So these young Earth creationists think that the T-Rex was on the ark, and that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. Now it looks like Mike Pence might actually be an old Earth creationist, so he still thinks that the Earth was made in 6 days and that God rested on the 7th.
Yeah,
but he does think that the Earth is like old. He doesn't think it's 6,000 years old. Yeah. But the thing is, he hasn't specified because he doesn't want to alienate his fan base, his following. So he just doesn't answer that question.
He doesn't want to alienate his fan base with his stupidity. He does not want to reveal the extent of his stupidity.
No, the other way around. He doesn't want his stupid fan base that believe the Earth is 6,000 years old to know that he actually believes it's an old planet.
Oh, right.
So he just doesn't answer that question.
I thought he was more like, he's like, look, obviously this is some dumb shit I'm going to say, and a lot of people will point that out.
Yeah.
If I say it, of course I believe it.
Yeah.
But I can't say it.
No. See, I think he actually is an old Earth creationist, but he leaves the door open for people to think he could be a young Earth creationist, because then the young Earth creationists will still vote for him.
Also, it's just another classic Trump thing, isn't it? That like a lot of the vice presidents in history have been a sort of counter to the president in terms of like their beliefs or what they were going for or whatever it was. So it's like another point of view.
Yeah.
It's like a different point of view to your own.
Well, I think that Trump probably is an atheist, probably.
Maybe, but regardless of religion, it's more like, like a sort of a staunch Republican. It gets an even stauncher Republican to be, it just seems, it's like someone who has even more, like someone with dumb, stupid views gets someone with even more radical, dumber point of views to be their voice.
Well, so what bothers me about Mike Pence is what he openly wants to teach creation in science classrooms next to evolution as an alternative theory. An alternative theory with zero scientific backing. But he wants to teach it as if it's a scientific alternative theory and let the kids decide. It's like, well, okay, a lot of kids actually, most kids will see that evolution makes far more sense than creation. But some kids are going to go, well, I want to believe in zombies and
fun shit
and T-Rexes on an ark.
I want to believe that Jesus invented the zombie genre.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm on board with all this cool shit. Like, you're talking about fucking photons and electrons. Fuck that shit. This guy, he's got an ark, he's got all the animals on it. That's like a real cool story. Plus, I saw the Disney film of this.
Yeah.
This is like a lot of fun. I'm on board for this one.
Yeah.
And, that's because kids, that's a fun thing. He's a fun thing for kids.
He's one of these people that think he says that evolution is just a theory, but what that just tells us is that he doesn't understand the scientific definition of theory. It's not the same version of theory that we use in day to day. Oh, I've got a theory about this, which we just use it to mean like I've got an idea that could be plausible. It's like theory in science. For it to become a theory, it has to pass through several other tests and layers and pass various other things before it can become an official scientific theory. And it doesn't mean it's a published theory. Gravity is a theory still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but gravity clearly works. We understand how it works,
Yeah, if you, what was your line in that thing about falling off the roof?
Deny gravity, but you'll still fall off the roof, mate. Yeah, if you like it or not, it's still the truth.
There you go.
Yeah, and then the other thing he said, which was really ignorant, was he was like, oh, now evolution's just a theory, blah blah blah. We're all familiar with it. We all know how it works. We've seen the poster. It starts off with the monkey on the ground, and the next man in line then we've got the Neanderthal in line, and then we've got us afterwards. And it's like, no, that's not it. We're not descendant from Neanderthal. We're not. They're like a cousin. It doesn't. You don't understand what you're talking about. Like he's passing opinions and trying to get laws passed when he doesn't even understand the concept of evolution and how it works. And he's just an ignorant asshole. And so anyway, these are my main beefs with Trump at the moment.
Yeah, well, look,
it's scary because our future, these are things, very important things. Climate change and the education of children is very, very, very important. And this is the leader of the free world. This is what America does, the rest of the world follows. We need a good, strong example to be set. And we have these bumbling idiots in the White House.
Yeah, look, my concerns are the same as yours, the climate change being the biggest one. And I think we did actually mention that when we talked about this election.
Yeah.
That was a big concern, is that you got a climate change tonight. Well, now he's the fucking president.
Yeah.
So it's not like we were talking about it. I was never, ever thought Trump was going to be president. You could... last year, if you'd said Trump's going to be president, I would have said, fuck off.
Yeah, no way.
A year before that, Trump's going to run for presidency, I would have said, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, none of this stuff makes any sense. Like, it's so...
alien.
Yeah, and backwards. It's actually like if you woke up in an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Yes.
And you open the newspaper. Everything is like this,
not as it should be.
Yeah, this dark alternate reality.
Yeah.
Trump president. Like it is. There's lots of jokes about the Marty McFly.
Well,
going Back to the Future 2, going to Biff's thing, and he's like become the most powerful person in the world by using the sports almanac.
Yeah,
and this is it.
Yeah, it's happened.
It's so weird because it's true. This isn't an alternate reality. Well, it's the one we're living in.
It is an alternate reality.
Yeah, but it's the one we are currently in. It hasn't alternated, this timeline that we're going along right now, is the case. He's the president.
Well, when when it got announced, I was actually genuinely, I think, in shock a little bit because
me too.
I never really seriously considered the fact that he would actually win. I honestly did not think that could happen. I was like, no, there is absolutely no way he's winning. This is a big farce, and after it's done, it's going to be a landslide Democratic victory, and everyone's going to say, obviously, because it's Donald fucking Trump. I mean, they're never going to. It's never going to be President Trump. That's like a joke, and then it happened, and I was in shock, and I was sitting there, and I was thinking, I'm in an alternate reality. That somewhere in an alternate universe, there's a Harley Neville sitting there going, oh wow, imagine an alternate reality where Trump won. I am in that alternate reality. I'm in it. It happened, and the next day I was actually quite depressed, and I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not like making a joke. I was real depressed. I was genuinely actually quite depressed because what bothered me about it so much was all this climate change stuff, but also the slippery slope that you can see that humanity is on, and this is a symptom of it. This is not a culture that is growing and thriving and advancing scientifically and socially doesn't elect an openly misogynistic Muslim hater to lead the free world. That's not what happens. That's a huge step backwards. You don't go from Barack Obama to Donald fucking Trump. This is clearly a step backwards, and I'm already worried that our civilization is on the slope. And I always come back to this whole idea of empires crumbling, and I'm always kind of worried. I'm always looking back at sort of history, And there's always like certain
tipping
signs.
Points.
There are certain signs.
Like in climate change, there's tipping points.
Exactly. And there are certain signs that every falling civilization has, which is like the growing inequality between the rich and the poor. So the elite control the majority of the resources, and when that happens for too long, the people do rise up and civilizations crumble. When they start running out of food, they rise up and they fucking behead the elites. And on the one hand, great, that'll be cool. But on the other hand, we don't want that. We want to keep advancing as a civilization. So when inequality grows, that's one of the symptoms of a civilization falling, one of the signs. The obviously like altering your environment, but then not altering your behavior to counteract that and to make up for that. So we're treating the Earth the same way we treated it 50 years ago. But 50 years ago it seemed infinite, and now we see it's actually very small. But we haven't changed our ways, and that's another thing. You know, like they chopped down all the trees in the, I don't know if it was like the Aztecs or the Mayans or somebody like that. You know, they chop down the trees, and then.
Yeah,
the environment changes, the farms start failing, the water gets dirty, whatever, and they don't change. So anyway, seeing all of this, it was like, oh no, we are devolving as a civilization, and war is, you know, this is the slope to war, to climate change, to all of that sort of really horrible stuff is on this path.
Yep.
You know, Bernie Sanders was a path towards enlightenment, and we detoured away from it, and we decided not to do that, and it's it bothers me.
And it certainly can be seen, possibly will be seen in history
definitely.
in 50 years' time as that.
Which is why I do think it's quite cool that we live in this exciting time, like a Trump presidency. This is a historic moment. And if this was the Roman Empire on its decline, right, there would be historians today talking about that, you know, this particular emperor that got in at this particular time, and how it was this pivotal moment, and, you know, everything went downhill from there, blah blah blah. We're living in it right now, and I'm hoping to go there next year.
Yeah, you're hoping to live there.
I'm essentially visiting the sack of Rome.
Yeah,
you know, that's kind of interesting. This is the most powerful empire ever to exist, and I'm going to be visiting it during this historic and crazy time.
My problem, like you know, I agree with all your points there. My other big issue with Trump as president is what I said before, the privileged, is that this is a guy who has never had to work hard in his life.
No.
This is a guy who comes from old money, and you go, oh, well, he lost money and he made it all back. Yeah, he lost, that's right, he lost fortunes and made fortunes back, you know, but not like through hard work and graft,
through connections and money,
and through sort of borrowing against, you know, like through borrowing more money to make money.
His dad gave him $1 million loan, right? I mean, I don't quote me on that, but I thought that was how he started his first business. Was his dad was like, yeah, okay, son, here's $1 million and access to all of my connections.
But you cannot, like, you see this, like, I'm not a rich person, you're not a rich person, but sometimes you brush up against people that have been rich their whole lives. You brush up against people that have never really had to do that, had to live that life. And they're fucked in the head. There is a disconnect between the day-to-day struggle of the regular Joe and them, because they've never had day-to-day struggle.
Yeah.
And they do not fundamentally really understand it as a concept, and they do not, and like you can see it through his tweets and stuff. There's a lot of, it's not fair. There's a lot of, you know, I'm being blackballed, but I'm always going to win, because that is his life, and that has been his life. And unfortunately, this is one of these great examples of God not existing.
Yeah.
But it's because, like, all reason and logic would suggest that this shouldn't happen, but it has happened. Like, not like Trump's not a nice guy. Trump is not a good person, and he is the president of the United States. And he has not lived his life like a nice guy and a good person.
Yeah.
His whole life has not been that up until this point. He has not been like an altruistic, thoughtful person that God said, now
it's not like it's fucking Elon Musk or somebody, you know? Like some benevolent, what's the word for people that,
who knows?
Okay, you continue.
And so I think that this, like, someone goes, hey, look, there's this growing disconnect between rich people and poor people in our country. And he goes, yeah, well, I'm one of the rich ones, and I don't understand the struggle of the poor ones, so whatever.
Yeah, well, the thing is...
the healthcare, doesn't matter. I'm one of the people that gets good healthcare.
Yeah.
So whatever. And this goes on and on through every single facet of running a country.
Yeah.
There's that mindset. Even the whole climate change thing.
Philanthropy.
Yeah, philanthropist.
Philanthropy. Yeah, it's not like it's some philanthropist.
Yeah, and so that is a real concern, because if you don't understand the people that you work for, the American people, you just do not understand them on a base level, which he doesn't, and you do not understand really life.
Well, can you
on
imagine,
a base level?
Exactly. Can you imagine that Trump has almost certainly never had to do an honest day's work? Like so he grew up with a silver spoon up his ass.
Yep.
And then, because that's where you put those.
Yep.
And then when he became old enough, he started his businesses, but working for yourself and creating your own things with a big pile of money behind you and a whole bunch of connections, you might be working very hard to do that. I'm not saying that he didn't put in really long days on creating his own business and getting it up and running and stuff, but it's still working for a passion of your own with a lot of money is not the same as working at Burger King in order to save up some money to buy a camera and make your first movie or start your business. Like, that's not the same thing. No. It's not the same thing at all. It's not the same struggle. And so for him to succeed was a given. It's not, so of course he's where he is. It's not that he's good at what he does. It's that he's got all the resources and all the connections.
And it is a fundamental...
He can't fail.
Yeah, it's certainly a real kind of perfect example of the kind of slight brokenness of the American dream in a way, which is... because they do champion successful people, and it is all about, which is great, and it is all about, and respecting success, which is all totally fine. But then you have someone like Trump, who is where he is because of his success, but he didn't do that come up from nothing thing. He just started at that point and then parlayed that into becoming the president of the United States.
Yeah.
But anyway, we should stop talking about that.
Okay.
I've got a few things to talk about, but have you got anything?
Last on that one was I am getting some flack online because I suggested that the people protesting against Trump was too much.
Wouldn't you be protesting if you were over there?
Well, no, because I'm on the one hand, humanity needs to boil up and change this system, and we do need to protest against inequality and environmental abuse and all of this type of stuff. There's no doubt about it, but I just don't feel like you can protest against a democratically elected president who won the election. And the fact of the matter is he won the election, and people are saying, okay, well, but the majority actually voted for Hillary. Hillary got more votes. It's like, okay, that's fine, and I agree that's a dumb system. You guys need to fix it. The person who got the most votes should be the winner. But that's the system they've been using for 200 years or so.
But isn't the protest in part that?
Well, that the system's shitty.
Yeah, so you're protesting the system, so the system will change if you protest.
But if Hillary had won, they wouldn't be protesting the system in the same circumstances. If it had been reversed and Trump had won on votes, they wouldn't be getting out there and going, oh, the system's broken. They lost and they're unhappy about it, and I'm unhappy about it too. But I just don't think you can get out there and protest when you lost fair and square. That's just the way it is. Hillary lost the election, and we can't... That's it. That's how it works. And it's the same system they've been using for 200 years. It's just like tough bickies, man. So in 4 years, that's when you can try again. But I'm not saying people shouldn't protest when he starts trying to put through draconian laws. People need to be protesting for sure, and people should be rising up against that stuff. But you can't be rising up against the democratically elected president because you don't like the one that they chose. The American people spoke. They used the system. The American people spoke, and that's the answer. That's the answer they gave. So now we've got to live with it. Because that's how democracy works. You don't always get what you want. You get what the majority wants, or in this case, in that American stupid system, what slightly less than the majority want.
Marginally less than the majority want.
Yeah.
Well, it's sad. I'm sad. We're all sad. Sorry, America. We hope that it's not too painful, and we hope that common sense prevails
in 4 years when Bernie wins,
or Congress prevails in stopping any radical, silly laws from getting passed.
Yeah, I went to a party last night. Just didn't have any idea, but there was all these protesters yesterday in Aotea Square. They're called the Aotearoa Against Trump gang, and they protested yesterday in Aotea Square against Trump. And randomly, I was at their party last night, and there was a burnt flag and
perfect example
and a
of
sign.
A group of unemployed people with nothing better to do with their time.
Well, there might have been an element of unemployed people there.
Protesters in New Zealand protesting for like, I don't think
it was a weekend.
It was a weekend.
It was a weekend. It's not like they weren't.
We've got to go to work. We better do this on the weekend.
It was in the paper though. There was like Trump protesters and anti-Trump protesters, pro-Trump and anti-Trump protesters clashed in Aotea Square yesterday.
Right.
So there was a contingent of people
like that scene in
that were
Anchorman 2.
pro-Trump. Yeah, where they were fight.
yeah.
There was a contingent of people here in New Zealand that are pro-Trump and were protesting against the anti-protesters, the anti-Trump protesters. That's weird.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is, the respect of success, and so the respect for Trump is very high for some people because they see that, as he's reached the top, and in America that, that American dream is such a big thing. And then I guess the rest of it is sort of misinformation and uneducation. I don't know. But anyway.
All right, enough Trump. You go.
So, a couple of things. I starred in a short film yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
The boys at Sideways Productions didn't even give me an audition.
I'm number one on the call sheet for that one.
And Best Actor nominee, Harley Neville, did not get even an audition. And I was hitting them up too. I hit both of them up. Alan didn't even deign to reply to me. At least Ben got back to me. Yeah. And so nothing for the Nevs. At this time in my life when I'm trying to get as many credits as I can, it's really imperative that I act in as many things. I'm being really proactive. I'm keen as beans. Yeah. Not even an audition. I'm not saying they should give me a role if I'm not right for it, but an audition, guys. Come on.
You just weren't right for any of the roles.
Oh, yeah, apparently.
No, I think the issue with that
Best Actor nominee
is that you asked too late. So
no, because they told me about it ages. They told me about it when we were shooting the 48-hour film, and I was like, "Hey, I'm keen to be involved." And they were like, "Well, we want Guy to be the lead," and I was like, "Well, that's okay. There must be something else." And they're like, "Oh yeah, let's see what happens." What?
Don't call us. We'll call you.
What happened was they didn't want me.
Right. Yeah.
Evidently.
Well, it was a good time.
Baldism. It's Baldism, isn't it? Was there any other bald actors?
There was. I think one other bald actor.
The token bald guy took my role. Who was he?
Well, he was a big muscly guy. Clearly, you didn't really fit that.
Yeah, I guess the only bald guy had to be a muscly dude, and so that's why I didn't get it. And due to baldism and bald film quotas,
haters of shinies.
Yeah, haters of us shinies, shinyism.
Yeah.
Fucking shiny hate, and so here I am, fucking unemployed and not getting in the credits I deserve. This sucks being a minority, man.
So I
discrimination.
That was the first film that I'd really acted in that wasn't one of our own films in a long time.
Yeah,
because I don't really do that.
Yeah,
but I did that. Had a lot of fun. Can't talk too much about what the short is about yet, I don't think. But I was the main guy, and it was interesting.
You feeling confident on your performance?
Never that confident. But, I hope they got what they wanted.
Well, they're listening, so you should probably say that you're feeling very confident.
Well, I think there's always, I tried my best. I tried to do my best. Did I give them what they were picturing in their head? I don't know.
Right.
But, I did the best I could, and hopefully they have something there that, will turn out to be something good. It was pretty interesting. It was essentially, it wasn't shot in a conventional way. So everything was essentially a master take, which means that normally when you shoot a film, you shoot your wide shot, and then you go in and shoot maybe a medium, and then some close-ups. So your coverage consists of, at least 4 or 5 different angles of the same scene. If you're just shooting what they call a oneer or that master, that's just the entire scene from one angle. And that's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
You're essentially...
Did you do much rehearsal with them?
I did a bit of rehearsal, so I did like a sort of few hours rehearsal with Alan where we sort of went through the whole script together, and then a little bit more rehearsal with
I am
one of the
very
leads.
jealous and devastated. I'll be honest. You don't even care about acting. So what is this? You score a plum roll in the next Sideways Productions film, and these guys make high quality stuff, and they're consistently well received. Big opportunity. You don't even care. Here I am, desperate for roles. Fucking sitting on my ass. I did nothing yesterday.
So it was
got the day off just in case.
It was tricky.
Just in case they changed their mind.
It was hard because, essentially you were having to do these whole scenes or sequences in one. And it means that instead of going, I fluffed that little bit, or that moment wasn't quite right, or maybe that doesn't work, but we'll just cut around it. There was no cutting around anything. So if a scene doesn't work, it just doesn't work. If you fuck up a little bit, you got to just do the whole thing again. And so we did do a lot of takes.
Right.
We did do a lot of takes. I did get actors fatigue from time to time.
How long were you on set?
So we started at 9 and we finished about 7 p.m.
Right.
So not just a normal day.
Cheeky 10.
Just a regular day.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more actual acting than normal because...
Just a one-day shoot?
Because the setups were very minimal.
Yeah. So you got lots of acting into that 10 hours.
Yeah, so normally an actor's day consists of 8 hours of sitting around... No, maybe 9 hours of sitting around, 1 hour of acting.
Yeah.
Maybe even less.
Yeah.
And this was probably a more even split between sort of like, maybe half of it was acting and half of it was waiting around. Maybe even a little bit more. It's a lot of acting.
Yeah.
But it was good. I enjoyed the challenge of it. I liked the challenge of it.
How many other actors were in it?
It was quite a lot. I think there was...
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was like...
There's quite a lot of actors in it. Plenty of roles, was there?
I think there was 10 other roles.
Just 10. I am not in the top 10 actors for Sideways Production. Of the 10 people in Auckland that they would go to first, I'm not one of them. I'm Best Actor nominee. I'm not one of them.
Best Actor nominee.
Harley Neville. Not one of the 10 actors they would go for.
Don't need him.
Not even worthy of an audition.
I will say that most of those roles were not really
suitable.
Not really, no.
Right.
Not really at all.
Yeah.
And I will say that this is probably something very important for anyone else thinking of casting me. I play a bitter, jaded director.
Yeah.
Now, if you've heard this podcast enough, you'll know.
You can see why they chose you.
You can see why they chose me. It's just another shade of myself, and that's what I think I can do, like kind of variations of myself quite well these days. But I really think that's where the end of my acting lies. So I can do that, and I'm happy to do that, and I write within that for myself as well, and that's totally cool. But I'm not going to be playing, I don't know, I can't even think of it.
Aristocratic Englishman.
I'm probably not.
Yeah.
But again, the challenge of it, I do like the challenge of it to be like, I don't know if I could do this.
Yeah.
So let's see, and I'll bust my ass and try really hard.
I'll bust my nuts and just try
really hard to do it, and hope for the best, because that's That's art. That's creating art.
Well, if anybody out there wants to cast me, I am also available. If any of you listeners out there want to use me, I'm actually looking for something. This is really important at the moment. There's two things that I really need for my visa application for the States. So if any of you guys are listening and want to help me out, here's what I need. I need letters of recommendation from people I've worked with. So I'll be getting one from you at some point. Worked with as a performer.
Write another fucking.
Well,
I've written so many letters of recommendation.
You can just take the template and just chuck my name in there. You know, I've got a template for it.
That's good.
So if you guys, I've got templates for you and everything, guys. You just basically got to put your name to it. And essentially, it's a letter saying that I first worked with Harley on this film. He was exceptional. Like he was this. It was because of him that the film was so successful. Blah blah blah. You know, like it's got to be like really, really.
It's because
saying
of him
how
that
awesome I am.
I Survived a Zombie Holocaust was the box office sensation.
It's because of him that
Box
I
office
Survived
draw.
a Zombie Holocaust has a 4.9 out of 10 rating on IMDb. So don't mention that. But so I need letters of recommendation from people I've worked with. Alan George, maybe you can make it up to me, this whole no audition thing, you know, just write me a letter saying that was how exceptional I was. But I also need things called deal memos, and deal memos are letters from American content creators who say they will cast me in their next production if I'm able to work in America. So it's like, I'm Guy Pigden, I've got this film coming up next year, I Survived a Zombie Holocaust 2, filming in America, and I would love to work with Harley Neville, and there's a template, and you basically just fill out the thing, and it's not even I would love to work with Harley Neville, it's just literally a template. Here's my production, here's what I need Harley for, here's how long I need him, and I want to use him for this production coming up. And the thing is, it's non-contractual, so that means that anybody that signs a deal memo for me doesn't actually have to cast me. It's non-contractual. It just helps me get the visa. So if anybody out there wants to help me, please get in touch, facebook.com/GuyAndHarley, or just add me on Facebook, Harley Neville.
Other big filmmaking news, just finished the latest cut of Older.
Right.
And that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Because I've been working on that cut since, I guess since probably, I'm just trying to figure out when the last cut was, but it was probably like March, maybe.
Yeah.
And we're in November now. So I just finished that a few days ago, and... you know, the Older was a long script. Looking back at it, maybe too long. But, you know, I do like, for me, the process of filmmaking is kind of excess then reduction.
Yeah.
So what I like is, you know, if we're going to do a scene, I'd prefer to shoot a longer scene and take things away than to shoot a very minimal scene and then go, oh, fuck, we're missing some crucial points here.
We have to go back and do pickups
We have to go and shoot some more stuff. And I've been on both sides of the coin where, you know, you haven't got enough and where you have, and it's much better to kind of prune away at a scene until it's a beautiful rose garden than to kind of have this tiny little sapling, this weak little withered sapling that hasn't grown properly. So, you know, for me...
So it's better to prune a bush than to grow a sapling. That's the analogy you're drawing here. Not as good as your previous ones.
Probably not that great.
Not as good as your previous.
No, but it's not
your
ideal.
Previous filmmaking analogies. But you can refine it.
Yeah,
you can refine it down.
That's right.
As you said. Next week it'll be better.
And so, you know, the first cut of Older was 2 hours and 24 minutes, which is too long. That's too long a film.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't really worried that it was 2 hours and 24 minutes because the first cut of the zombie film was, I believe, close to 3 hours.
Right.
And everyone was panicking about that back then.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really too worried about... I was more worried about that back then, but I was probably worried about them panicking more than I was that, oh, shit, we won't be able to figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
And this time, having been through the zombie Holocaust experience, I was like, that's fine. 2 hours 20 is fine. And so this latest cut is my goal for the whole film. I think we talked about it. You were like, 90 minutes is good. And I was like, 100 minutes is good. And this current cut is 107 minutes.
Right.
So it's a very close to what I was hoping the length of the film would be.
Yeah.
The final runtime of the film would be.
We've still got a few pickups to do here and there. How many minutes worth of pickups do you think still need to be inserted?
Well, you know, we talked about one kind of big scene that we could consider doing, and then we talked about one... Well, they're both kind of big scenes, but one is more sort of influential to the whole story, and one is a standalone scene, which is kind of a reshoot of a scene we already did. And I think one of them might add 4 or 5 minutes, and one of them would add 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. And so, you know, obviously neither of them are that bad, because you might cut out something else to put those in as well.
Yeah.
But now it's at this very interesting stage, because now it's at the stage, like before, I was like, I'm not showing this to people because I know that there needs to be a lot of work done to it. And, you know, so there's no point showing people and them going, it's 2 hours, 20 minutes, guy. You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I only showed it to a couple of trusted people to get their opinions. But now it's really at a stage where people should be looking at it. Because you know, there's a lot of things where
Well, I sense a way to make money. I'm sensing a way to make money here. See, we are on Patreon. Patreon.com. Search for Pigville on Patreon. And now we have 3 or 4 patrons at the moment, people that give us a certain amount of money per video we put out. And we're at about $12 per video. Right? So you can choose to give us $1 a month if you want, kind of thing. Maximum. And so a way that we could... The idea with Patreon is that you get rewards for being a patron. Things that you can't get elsewhere. So what we could do is we could make it that our patrons can be one of the elite few that get to see the cut for feedback reasons, you know?
Right.
And that way we encourage people to become patrons.
Well, to be fair, we actually do owe that as one of our perks for people that contributed to the older Indiegogo.
Right, okay.
That's
good. You can still do both, though.
As a rough cut of the film. And I don't know if it's quite at that stage yet. I was more thinking of giving it to editors and such.
Yeah.
To sort of... Because now we're at a stage where it's like, what scenes do you keep?
Yeah.
You know, like, there's scenes that you could lose. Does it detract from the story? Does it compromise, you know, this or that? And what is resonating with people? You know, like, now it feels pretty good to me.
Yeah.
But is some of the shit just boring as fuck? Are some people just groaning as they watch this stuff going, oh, God, this is so fucking melodramatic.
Yeah.
This is so Hacksaw Ridge, guy. Come on, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, what do you then... And there's also a sort of a question of the sequence of events. So of how the sort of last third of the film plays out in terms of what goes where and why. And so figuring all out of that's when it's a bit beyond you as the person that's edited it to truly know, you know, because I've got it down to this stage, but, you know, I can't really say anymore what those things are because I'm too close. So I have to give it out to some people, and hopefully they'll give me some good ideas.
Well, there's also a producer.
Hopefully they'll say it's perfect.
There's also a producer that is interested in seeing it to get us some post-production money. You're going to send it to him now that it's...
Well, we'll probably let you have a look at it and then see whether you think it's at that stage yourself. Ask your opinion on that one, because I think it could be. I think it could be ready for him to have a look at.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. Maybe there still needs to be a few more tweaks here and there. But it definitely feels like a film.
Good.
So very excited about that, and you know,
I really think it's going to open some doors for us when it comes out. I've said that before. I really think that it will be a massive boon to the Pigville name and to your name as a writer-director.
Well, sometimes I watch it and I feel really good.
Yeah.
I feel really good. And then other times I watch it and I go,
yeah,
maybe I'm wrong about everything.
Yeah, I don't think so though. I'm pretty sure that I would, if I felt like it was cringy and bad, I would know it was cringy and bad. But I don't think it's cringy and bad. I think it's good.
But you wouldn't tell me if you thought it was cringy and bad. Well, you might.
I would, especially
would.
in my edit notes. I'd be like, this scene is not working. The scene sucks. The acting is bad, or whatever. I would tell you in my edit notes. So no, I genuinely believe in it. I think it's going to open some doors for us. Now, speaking of filmmaking and us and being awesome, we are in the paper today.
That's true.
There is a big write up in the paper today. I don't actually know which paper it is, but it's also on the stuff.co.nz website. And I'll share that on the Facebook page, facebook.com/GuyAndHarley. And it's I haven't actually read the article yet. It just came out. But it is a story about No Caller ID, our short film that just went to Screamfest. It's playing this week, I think, in Barcelona. And it's also playing next month in Sydney at a Night of Horror International Film Festival. And there's a story in the paper today about the dog we use, which is Stella, which is Guy's ex-girlfriend's dog. Yep. And the story kind of focuses on this because she was a rescue dog, and we used her in the movie, and she did a great job and looks genuinely scared, and it's perfect because she's meant to be looking scared. And so the story is kind of about this rags to riches dog from this dog story from the streets, who is now a Hollywood starlet, broadcasting screening it all around the world in this film and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool and exciting. Stuff.co.nz, we're on there, and I'll be sharing that on the Facebook page. Yeah,
and there is a video clip too which shows a little bit of the film. As well.
Yeah.
You should check that out. Now, I should also just briefly mention, haven't had a pro wrestling update in a while.
Okay, good.
So I was, I've been training, as we know, to become a professional wrestler. Mm-hmm. And we had a guest trainer come in, or guest trainers come in. Now, do you know who Haku is?
No.
So Haku was a wrestler who wrestled for the WWF in the 1980s and early 1990s, and then wrestled for WCW in the mid-1990s to early 2000s. He was known as Ming in WCW, and he's basically this kind of Tongan wrestler who really was a good wrestler, was never a huge star, but what did become, he was part of the Heenan family heel stable of wrestlers, and he tag teamed with Andre the Giant, and he won the tag team belts with Andre the Giant. He wrestled at WrestleMania, so he's kind of done it all.
Yeah.
And also he's known sort of notoriously as one of, or if not the toughest wrestler, just as a person, the toughest guy.
I think I've heard of him.
And that you wouldn't want to, essentially, he will kill you. He has the ability to kill you. He's not going to kill you, but he has that ability, and he's been in many fights where he's, basically just decimated people because he's so tough.
Mm-hmm. But do you mean in the fake wrestling?
No, not in the fake wrestling.
Right.
So just as a tough guy, he is renowned as a tough guy outside of wrestling.
Right.
And so I was shitting my pants when I heard this.
Yeah.
Absolutely shitting my pants.
Shitting and coming in them at the same time.
Yeah, it was a combo.
It was a combo.
But mainly shitting, to be honest. Because I was so nervous. I was like, one, this is the toughest guy. So there's a thing in wrestling where, especially an old school thing from sort of the 1980s and sort of before, where when you're a rookie, as part of being taken through your paces, the veteran wrestlers would, quote unquote, shoot on you. And shooting means real wrestling. So essentially they would put you in super painful submission holds and make you tap out and almost break your arm or almost make you pass out, to show you that although wrestling was fake, these are legitimately tough people that do it and can break you at any time.
Yeah.
So do not fuck around. I think that was the lesson that was trying to be imparted. And also, if you're not yourself tough, you'll just quit because you don't like being hurt so much each time you train with these people. And he's from that era, and he's known as the toughest guy in wrestling. And so I was kind of worried that he was going to do some shoot moves on us. Because why not? We're rookies. That's the whole initiation process. So, but he did not. He didn't to me anyway. And it was pretty cool. Also, he has 2 sons that are now, or 3 sons now, that are pro wrestlers, that are successful pro wrestlers in their own right, and that wrestle for New Japan. And that's why they're over there, is because New Japan was doing a wrestling event, which I had to miss out on to act. That's how much I sacrificed, because they're never going to probably come back because they didn't get a very good turnout. So they're probably never going to come back and do another live event over here. So I sacrificed that to do the short film. That's how much I care about being an actor, regardless of what Harley Devil says about my dedication. So anyway, he came in and he trained, and again, I kind of thought that either he was going to shoot on us and like kill us, or he was going to just say, hey, do this, do that, and also be really quite critical of how shit we were, because we're just rookies. We're just learning. Yeah. I've been doing this 3 or 4 months. I think 3 months. I'm not sure. I've kind of lost track of time. And lo and behold, he ended up getting in the ring with us and locking up and doing, like a sequence of moves with us, which was the pants coming situation. Yeah. Although also very scary, because you're like, I don't want to fuck up this generic stuff that we have been taught and should know, because it's embarrassing, because this is like a legend and will probably one day be in the WWE Hall of Fame, and we're just looking like doofuses.
Did you get a photo with him for Facebook?
I did get a photo with him for Facebook. I was one of the only ones, but I did do that because I was a huge mark. But
were you in your wrestling outfit?
No, I wasn't in my wrestling outfit.
That's what you need.
Well,
you need a picture of you and him, like, side by side in wrestling outfits.
Well, no, we're just in, like, gym shorts and stuff. Right. But, so I ended up, putting him in a headlock and doing a shoulder tackle on him. Now, if you'd have said to me at, like, sort of 10 years old, one day, you see that guy that's on WrestleMania? You see that guy that just accidentally super kicked Andre the Giant? You see that guy that's wrestling in front of, 70,000 people? You see that guy that's destroying people in WCW with a Tongan death grip? You see that guy? One day, he's going to let you put him in a headlock and do a shoulder tackle on him. I would not believe you. That is some childhood dreams right there. And I was fucking loving it.
Although at that time you believed you were going to be a professional wrestler, I guess you'd be like, yeah, well, of course I will be.
I guess part of me might have been like, oh yeah, of course, duh, because I'm going to be a pro wrestler. But even then, I probably would have been like, well, that's that generation before me, so it's not actually that likely that I'll be wrestling him specifically, or doing anything with him. So it was a real cool sort of pinch yourself, your dreaming moment.
Yeah.
Moments later, found out Donald Trump was president.
Yeah,
two pinch yourself dreaming moments, both very different.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to tell that little story.
Oh, good. It's a good story. Following your dreams, I love it. I love it. If only my dreams hadn't been shattered by that bully. My poetry.
Poetry.
Yeah. We've swapped places in this episode. I'm bitter and and twisted about.
I'm having a great old time.
Trump, poetry, and acting. Yeah. All of them. I'm bitter about all of them.
Yeah, and I'm living my dreams, acting, pro wrestling, finishing the cut of older.
Yeah, we've completely swapped places. So that's good. That's great.
Anything else or?
No, I think I've reached the end of my topics.
You've reached the end of your tether?
My tether. I'm going out for dinner tonight with the missus for a goodbye dinner because her sister's going somewhere, so going to Sky City. Fancy. So I think I'm actually going up the Sky Tower in Auckland. Oh, right. Iconic.
Yeah, goodbye.
Iconic spot.
Goodbye $60.
Yeah, exactly. Goodbye a whole bunch of money.
Goodbye $60 to get up there and then another $60.
When I'm desperately trying to save to move to the States. Well, we'll just go out for dinner at Sky City, will we? All right.
Why not?
Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. We're probably out of time, but we'll leave it for next week, I guess. But I'm currently flat hunting.
All right.
I've been flat hunting for a while now, checking out rooms. There seems to be... I've noticed a couple of things. I've noticed that everybody in every single Trade Me ad claims to be easygoing, quote, easygoing, or looking for an easygoing flatmate.
True.
Like it's the most overused like description on every Trade Me. We're an easygoing flat looking for an easygoing flatmate. And there's lots of them as well that are only for people that are under 30. So ageism. So as a 33-year-old man, I'm like, oh wow, this place is really cool. It looks really nice. Great location, right price. No, only have to be under 30.
What are you going to do? Start lying about your age there?
Well, I could totally lie about my age. I think that if I said I was 29, people would buy it. You know, I don't think it's completely ridiculous. No. Although I have been attending a lot of these flat meetings with no hat, just rocking the baldy, just rocking the shiny.
Might as well like shock them now, right?
Well, yeah, I guess you got to. I don't know. You're gonna wear a hat. You know, am I that ashamed of my shiny fucking head? You know, like, am I going to wear a hat to meet potential new flatmates unless they judge me for my bald head?
Well,
you know,
that is a thing, though.
It is a thing. It is. On top of that, it does make me look older. So when you first walk in the room with a beard with grey hairs in it and a bloody bald head, you know, they're going to go, this guy's like in his late 30s, you know, and probably too old to be living with us. Yeah. I found this room that was $117 a week. $117 a week on Williamson Ave, which is, you know, very
prime
close to where we live. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with living there. It's just near Ponsonby. It's a short walk to Ponsonby. $117 a week in a big room in a big house. It was pretty good. But
you sure you weren't going to be there with someone else in the room?
No. Literally 117. That was it. I couldn't believe it. And I was like, man, I really want this one because, you know, I didn't really know the people and they were all a bit younger, but I was like, if I can get the room of 117 a week, I can save so much money. But they did not want me, and I do think it was because I'm too old. They were
ageism.
Like, they were like, no, it's way too old to be living with us, that fucking old dude. You know, and then the people that are my age are all kind of living a little bit further out, you know, so out of the city.
Well, to be fair, we've out-aged flatting.
Yeah.
You and I
too old to be flatting.
Too old to be flatting. We refused to grow up for so long that we've now aged ourselves out of the flatting market.
Yeah.
You know, we were just a couple of 20-somethings looking for a flat and a good time. And now it's like, shouldn't you guys have like houses and wives and careers?
Yeah, well, there was one that I looked at as well, right? It was great. It was good price, great location, nice house. Everything was good about it. But the people that I was going to be living with was almost like from your script for Happy-ish.
Right.
Was that there was a couple who owned the house, and they were very well-to-do, all buttoned up, and like the guy was wearing a blazer with a shirt underneath. You know, and they were like 9-to-5ers, or actually like 8-till-5ers, or whatever. And like, you know, boring corporate jobs in the city, very, very like buttoned up, but a little bit younger. They were like 32, a year younger than me.
Yeah.
And but they owned the house.
Yeah.
They owned the house, so it would be like living with your landlord / living with your parents, or even worse, probably living with your friends' parents, because they're not even your parents.
Yeah.
You know, and I kind of had they seemed nice, but I had a kind of a bad feeling.
Yeah.
And then their friend, their other flatmate is clearly one of their friends, and he's just unemployed dude who's just like, and you know, he seemed nice, but he seemed to just be like kind of like schlubbing around, you know. So it was like from one of your scripts, this like well-to-do couple. Obviously, the guys were mates, and then they're getting married. They bought a house, and then the schlubby mate is just like lounging around, tagging along. That is going to happen to you and I one day.
It's possible.
Like you're going to get married, or I'm going to get married and buy a house, and there'll be a spare room. And you or I will be living there.
There's a very real possibility of that.
Yeah.
Very real possibility. But it is a little bit scary. I saw one of my ex-girlfriends bought a house.
Right.
That was a bit of a cold water
Which
to
one?
the face. Should I say her name?
Well, what did you say her first name?
Eve.
Right, okay. Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
And I was like...
Yeah.
Like, I was like, because they bought a house in Auckland as well.
Right.
So that's, you don't fucking around if you buy a house in Auckland.
And the funny thing is, it's the next boyfriend she had after you.
Yeah.
So
there's always the next boyfriend they have after me.
Yeah.
This is a real pattern going on.
Yeah, it is a real pattern.
It's a real pattern. Because
another one of your exes, Karina, got married after, with the boyfriend after you.
Next boyfriend after, it was the boyfriend after that. So
right.
It was one boyfriend removed.
Right.
But then also, my other, so the other ex-girlfriend I had, she got married and had a kid. In fact, that's happened twice. Mm-hmm. One of them's got married. One of them's bought a house. Now, I also found out that my more recent one that helped produce Older, she is living with her new partner.
Yeah.
And so basically, I don't think we have joked about it before, but I'm the good luck Chuck of relationships. So if
you're not the good luck Chuck.
Yes, I am.
You're the guy that reminds them that it's hard dating and that they need to just settle down and fucking stop being so fucking picky. And so after the horror of dating you, they just instantly settle down into the next guy that comes along.
That's good luck Chuck.
Yeah.
That's the premise of that movie.
Well, I haven't seen it. What's good luck Chuck? I thought you were just saying.
Basically, this guy goes around dating girls and being so horrible that they either go back to their last boyfriend or they want a serious commitment after that because he's such a loser.
Right.
So, like, he basically sees...
Okay, yes, you are that.
So that's what I do, is like, so if you want to get married and settle down, just date me for between 6 months to a year, and that will be in your future.
Yeah.
So, I'm waiting.
Whoa. You better be careful with depending on who's listening, eh?
I'm sure
you might get in trouble.
No one's listening.
Hey, speaking of people listening, my girlfriend Angie has started listening to the podcast again. Oh, shit.
I was going to make a joke before.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Well, lucky you didn't. Like, because this is... She used to listen when we started the podcast. She used to listen, and then I just kept on getting in trouble for saying stuff.
Yeah.
And then it was just a nightmare. So she gave up listening because we would like fight about things I'd said on the podcast. Yeah. And half the time I didn't even remember what I'd said. It's I'm just chatting with my mate.
Yeah.
Who knows what I said?
This is just garbage spills out of you.
Exactly.
You don't know what.
I'm not thinking of the consequences.
Yeah.
But then lately she's been back on the wagon listening.
Right.
So hey, Angie, if you're listening, I love you, baby. Ti amo. Thanks for listening. Please hit share.
Yeah. Also, I did in sort of more like hysterical news of like people growing up and growing past me in the evolution of their lives. My sister is married. She's pregnant. She's going to have a baby. This is my sister that is 6 years younger than me. And also, I got an email.
I remember when she was just a kid.
I got an email from my mum, and she was like, hey, so, this baby's coming, because she lives with my parents still. And she's like, hey, so this baby's coming. So you know how we had this room for you, and we said you're always going to be welcome back here, and this was your room, and if you ever needed to come back, you could.
Now it's the baby's room.
It's the baby's room, and we want you to remove all your stuff from it. And I was like, fuck you, mum. Like, one, there's two siblings. There's two other siblings who have rooms, right? One of them's a 33-year-old, me, man-child, and one's a 31-year-old with a stable job in another country.
Yeah.
Who's making $35 an hour plus and is much more likely not to need to move home.
Yeah.
Like, if anyone's moving home, it's definitely me.
Well, they're playing favourites, guy. You just have to accept that you're third favourite. From the three kids, you're third favourite.
So, I was just a bit miffed that it wasn't like, hey, some mention of why we're not doing that with her. Not only that, her room has got way more junk in it. Like, I've just got some clothes and some DVDs. Like, I don't even have heaps of stuff. I'm not cluttering up the house with all my shit. And yet they're like, get rid of it all. Oh, we'll just burn it. We'll burn it down.
Yeah.
Just get out. We don't know you anymore.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is too much. I'm going to complain about this on the podcast.
On the podcast. To the Hardy Hundy.
Also, you can't replace me, your son, with your grandson or daughter. You can't do that.
Why not?
Or it's your grandson. I think we know it's going to be a son. It's been announced.
Right.
Because I'm the son. Like, grandson is one further down.
Yeah.
That's one less important. Like, if you had to save
Tell you what,
me or the grandson out of the burning building, you'd still save me. I'm your son.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you probably wouldn't. You'd be like, oh, he's had 33 years and he hasn't done fuck all.
Bugger being your parents' age and having a baby in the house, a new baby in the house.
Well, that's another thing. It's like...
They've already done it. They've raised 3 kids.
Shouldn't you kick out them?
Yeah.
What? Forget me.
They can't kick out the pregnant child.
Forget about
child.
me in the room. Like, I'm not even there. I've just got some of my clothes. Forget about my clothes. What about these hanger-oners who is living here, this whole family that's living in your house?
Yeah.
This whole extra family. Never mind your son who's got some DVDs there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right, well, look, we better wrap it up. We'd better wrap it up. This is the end of the Guy and Harley podcast.
This may have broken our longest podcast.
No, I think we had one that was 140 something.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, look, we better go because people are finishing their run and needing to turn this podcast off. So, the things you can do to help are you can go to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. So if that's where you're listening, go and do that, please. You can also go to patreon.com, search for Pigville, and start donating to us. That does really help us. We don't charge very often, but every now and then when we put a video out, you'll get charged $1 or whatever it is that you decide to give to us, and that does really help. We're aiming to get to $20. We're currently at $12. So my first milestone for Patreon was $20. We're at $12. That's pretty good. So please go along to Patreon and sign up there. You can also like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. You can facebook.com/Pigville Productions. These are all places where you can keep up with our various activities. And the final thing that you should do is you should add me on Facebook, Harley Neville. I've got 3,000 and something friends. I'm aiming for the 5,000 friend limit. Once I reach that 5,000 friend limit, I can't accept you. You will become a follower, not a friend. So I won't. So which means that you'll see my shit in your newsfeed, but I won't see yours. So
you don't want to be that person.
You don't want to be that. This is hot property, guys. So there's less than 2,000 friend slots left, guys. So
that's quite
get at me. Get at me, guys. Don't undermine what I'm saying here, Guy. Get at me, guys. This is a limited resource. There's just under 2,000 friend slots left. So go and add me, Harley Neville, on Facebook, and just be regaled with my daily bullshit.
And don't forget the iTunes.
I did say that at the beginning.
Okay.
That was the first one.
All right.
All right, so thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week.
See you later.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.